Okay, hello, I am Mary, compulsive overeater, food addict. And as I recently heard, and I really like, a persistent recoverer versus a chronic relapser. Nice spin. Okay, I need more room. Okay, since joining OA, January 2005, I've relapsed twice. Okay, the first time was the end of 2006 into 2007. Life's blurry in about a 4-year or more span in there. And then the second time more recently, the summer and fall of this year, 2025. And I find it fascinating that it took me 20 years to see the pattern that led to both relapses. So, and that my abstinence, which is surprising and not, is most solid in times of crisis. That's when I'm most comfortable. I know what to do when life's blowing up. Hunker down, learned in recovery, grab hold of people. It's after. So my first relapse, from like 2005 to 2008, man, a lot happened. A lot of life happened. My son flunked out of college for the first time. I was demoted at work because I had gotten abstinent January 2005, and my kids were tanking, and I was recently divorced, and I gave up all at once: sugar, caffeine, white flour, and something else. That was a mess. It was like, I'm lucky they kept me. My daughter went to prison. Okay, that was 2005. Okay, then we go into 2006 and 7. My daughter got out of prison, was sober-ish. My son was in and out of jail. They were both living with me. 2008, 2007, my dad officially, 2006, 7 officially diagnosed with Alzheimer's. 2007, my sister diagnosed with hepatitis C, given 6 months to live. And then in 2008, they both died within 4 months of each other. And I had been working my way into relapse. I dove head first. I mean, it was like, I'm out. This is not happening. I got nothing. So there was not OA in the town I lived in at that time, or ever. I don't think it is now either, in Pierre, South Dakota. For South Dakota, Pierre was a good-sized town. It's 14,000 people, which made it like the 9th, 10th biggest town in the whole state, okay? I did stick with Al-Anon, and I know that's why my relapse stayed to just 4 years, that first one, because I stayed with Al-Anon. All my friends were in, and I'd started Al-Anon 2 years before OA. That's where I learned I'm an addict. So I stayed in Al-Anon. There was a women's meeting that was made up of women from all different 12-step programs. I went to a lot of AA Al-Anon retreats, weekend conferences, because there just weren't that many meetings to go to. So we basically created our own recovery. And I know, like I said, that's what kept me in the rooms long enough for my higher power to work with me. And I also felt like a fraud the whole time, such a fraud, because my friends most of them were AA, rock solid. And here I'm going to these retreats and conferences, and they are my friends, and then I just go home and binge. And life was, God, it was a weird dynamic. My 50s were the best decade of my life and the worst, all at the same time. So there's that. That's kind of how my life goes. But for recovery, boy, they would not have been the best of my life. I know that. Now, I tell you all of that, what that first relapse was like. 4 years, I came back in August 2011, got abstinent, got a sponsor, put down sugar, did the deal. I dove into OA head first. Still in peer, like I've shared before. I did phone meetings, I did whatever I needed to do. The closest face-to-face meeting from peer was in Rapid City, which was a 3-hour drive. And that's where my sponsor was, and I did go there at different times. Not a lot. That's, long drive for a meeting. But any OA event I could find in the area, whether it was South Dakota, Minnesota, whatever, I would head to. Because I had been that miserable and life was that hard in the food for 4 years that it was like, man, I'm hanging on with both hands. So, like I said, I'm telling you all that to set the stage for relapse number 2, okay? It took me a long time. It took me months to recognize and then to be willing to surrender to the fact that according to my definition of abstinence, I was not abstinent. It looked nothing like, thank God, the relapse that I first had, 2007 to 2011. Because I didn't go back to sugar. I didn't gain any weight. I stayed in OA big time. So I played mind games, a lot of mind games with myself. And ego and pride. Again, another recurring theme in my life that have tripped me up repeatedly. But life on life's terms, and there was my pattern. Then I recognized what happened. From 2020 to 2024. I call it now the 3 C's. There was COVID, cancer, closed region 4. Now, everybody experienced COVID. Ton of people have had cancer. Nobody's closed to region before in OA, except Meg and I and Cindy Lenz and the crew there. And it was cumulative. And a year after the region was officially closed, June 2024. And I was told many people, on one hand, they said, well, no, you can be a trustee. Never. Never say never, but never. Or take a year off. It's like, whatever. Okay, I'll take the year off from service, all service. And I pushed back on that a lot because I was crisp. I didn't know how crisp I was at that point. It took me till my year was up, the summer of this year. And it's like, okay, well, now I guess I'm, supposed to get back into service, and I'm an addict, go big or go home. But to my core, the answer was no. Just the thought of it, I repelled. And it's like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on here. I didn't say that at the time because I didn't know. Since then, it was It takes me a while, and I don't think I'm that unusual to catch up with events, to recognize feelings, to recognize reactions. Um, I don't in real time. I never have. I don't know if I ever will. I'm much better than I ever used to be. But I know it wasn't until I was done, I had a full year's treatment with cancer. I had the whole deal, all the chemo and the whole 9 yards. It wasn't until I was at the very end of that year that I started to realize the impact that had on me emotionally. Because if I learned the slogan one day at a time like I'd never learned it in my life through that year. It was survival. It was just keep head down, do it today. I can do this, then do tomorrow. And I grabbed onto my people. And my abstinence was solid, even though my food changed completely. All I could eat was soft, mushy foods. Well, you know what those are. So I worked real close with a sponsor on that one. And I stayed abstinent. Okay, and then I'm still in cancer treatment, and I get a call if I would come back, because I had stepped down as the Region 4 chair that fall, just said, I'm out, I can't do it. And then we got the call like in April, May, the next year, if I would help, because it was done. They couldn't keep a board. They couldn't have it. There was no chair, there was no vice chair. We had a good treasurer, secretary was like, no, not going up. So Meg and Cindy, they've both been and are or were chairs of OA, plus chairs of Region 4, and they've been through the mix with this, they said, because they tried once, floated the idea to close it, and people, no. And there was zero feedback, zero pushback about closing the region this time from anybody. So I got the call because they had tried everybody else and nobody would. And I said, well, then I guess it is mine to do. So I came back. Like I said, it was in the tail end of my cancer treatments. So I came back as Region 4 chair, and we had a year plan to shut it down. So again, just, head down, we're doing this and move forward. It wasn't until that was over, again, my pattern, before I started to understand the impact that had on me. That was a hard year, folks. It had never been done before. We literally wrote the book on it. We were leading the World Service Office on it because it never happened. And going to like the World Service Business Conference, and people are very nice and all that, but there was a lot of, well, did you try this, did you try that? And it's like, we tried everything we could think of, more than once. So it just sucked. That's all there is to it. So, like I said, it was after the fact that I am taking in what's been going on the last 4 years. And I am eating beyond, like I said, I didn't go to sugar, and I even gave up white flour in the midst here. I don't know how that happened. But I was overeating. My abstinence is 1,800 to 1,900 calories a day. I track my food. I've been doing it since 2011. I write it down every day and send it to my sponsor. Okay, I don't eat sugar, white flour now, diet pop. There's a lot of things not on my food plan. And I didn't go to those. But what I did eat, I was overeating. I was compulsively eating. And then, and I was starting to do that on a more regular basis. And I even got to the point where on some days I just didn't report. That day just never went to. I didn't write it down, didn't go to my sponsor. We had a talk after I reset my abstinence date. The sponsor and I said, I asked her, I said, are you comfortable calling me out on this? Because I'm me and some people aren't. And she's a very, very sweet, kind lady. And she said, yes. I said, okay. I said, I need you to call me out on this stuff. And I am going to be, and I am way more diligent on sending it every day, my food. But before I got to that point, I'm still playing the game with myself, justifying, and no, because I'm not, I'm not here and I'm not there. And it's like, yeah, but you're. And then I binged, and all bets were off. It's like I can't I can't ignore that one. And it scared me enough to get my ass back in here and to fess up. First to my sponsor, that was October 18th. When that's my new abstinent date. And that's when I talked to my sponsor about it. If you'll notice, this is how my higher power works in my life. That was 1 week before our retreat when I was going to be seeing y'all. And not only that, I had been asked to host the retreat speaker. So I was spending a lot of time with her. And Meg had come down and was staying with me. And it's like, so my honesty and humility were put to the test within the first week of this relapse. And I told Meg right off the bat, and I didn't tell Marlo, we are shopping in Old Market. So picked her up, and she was talking about service work and that there's probably going to be an opening for a Region 3 chair, and I just well, that's not going to be me. That's one way to avoid service. I do not recommend it. It's like I don't qualify. As you would have it. So that was very humbling. And then at the retreat that weekend, I told many people. And by the end of here's the hope, here's the good news. At the end of the retreat, I felt so good. I felt so light and free like I hadn't in a long time, which told me how long I'd been dancing around with this. Like I said, I am grateful. I am grateful for the binge. I also have come to realize, it was interesting too, at the Sunday morning of our retreat, somebody had gone around and put these by every chair. And I went in and sat down, and it's like, oh, cool, 2 speakers. And it's like, oh, I'm one of the speakers. It's like, damn. I had agreed to that months before all this. So I went to Shelley at the retreat and said, say, this is what's going on. You still want me to speak? And the committee said, yeah. Like, okay. So here I am, folks. That's the trajectory of that. If you're wondering why I'm up here speaking to all of you, I did learn that, and again, it's something I didn't know. So I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak, because I learned a lot about myself and my journey through all this in preparing for this and thinking about it. And what a major conclusion, number one reason for my relapse was resentment. And it was resentment against Region 4. It's a big resentment. It's, it's kind of a nebulous thing, obviously. It's not any specific people. I understand a lot of it. But for me, I know it's resentment. And like the big book teaches us, and I'm going to close with this. Page 66 of the big book says, "It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison." That's why I introduced myself as a food addict, because I am an addict. That's what brought me back from relapse in 2011, because I accepted to my core I was an addict, not just food. A good friend said, "Hey, if you can do anything twice, I can get addicted to it." And I don't think she's that far off for those many of us. I abused drug and alcohol in my younger days. I was a blackout drinker. Coke almost got me. Spending money, yeah, I am an addict, okay? And that's why I need the AA literature. I need this direct in my face that to drink is to die. For me to go into relapse is to die. I got off easy. I got off easy this time, and I know it. And I don't want to go here again. It was one of the most humbling experiences I have ever had, which tells me it's absolutely what I needed, because that was my higher power at work. Honesty and humility. Man, that's been the name of the game. And like I said, I feel better than I have in a long time. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all.